To the women in our lives, today is all about you. In a world where women are expected to conform and be silent, we encourage you to speak out and break the barriers, break the bias. There is going to be somebody who is going to try to put doubt in your mind. You've got to learn how to brush that kind of stuff off your shoulders. That was said by Michelle Obama. We couldn't have shouted it any louder. Be bold. Step out of the history that's holding you back. Set into the new story you are willing to create. That was said by Oprah Winfrey. We couldn't say it better. Be courageous. Doubt is a killer. You just have to know who you are and what you stand for. This was said by Jennifer Lopez. We couldn't emphasize it more. Believe in yourself. You are a woman. You are fierce. You are divine. And at APA Apollo, we believe that you deserve to be celebrated. Keep slaying, Queen. Happy International Women's Day. Are you slaying? Yeah. Oh, how are we slaying today? Even women supporters, you can slay. Okay. Anyone who works in the PA, you know I like the limelight, you know I like the camera, but again, it's not my day. I'm just the introducer of the star of the day and the stars of the day. So, today's champion of all genders, but especially SDG number 5, which is, I talk about SDGs all the time, guys. What is SDG number 5? Gender equality. The hint is in today's name. Yeah. Gender equality is not only about women, but today specifically we are going to focus on women. Today, our champion of SDG number 5 is Beth Kajuju, our group head of HR. She's a girl you're seeing shining about today. You will not miss her, by the way, when she starts. Beth is today's moderator for our talk, where we have 2 lovely ladies who will talk to us. I will let Beth introduce her moderator and guests for the day as we proceed with the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm shining. And it's because somebody allowed me to shine. This somebody is adaptable, ambitious, and quite alert for A. The person is also quite sociable, a simple guy, and very strong. Maybe strong-willed is better, but he is strong. He's humble, hardworking, and very helpful. And for O, he's quite open-minded, an optimist by nature, and extremely organized. I actually don't know how he does it. And finally for K, very knowledgeable, a kind-hearted human, and extremely keen. Those of us who report to him know how sharp his eye can be. Please welcome me, join me in welcoming one Ashok to this. I just spelled his name. I just used what I consider very powerful to me as a person, but I also believe that describes who he is to many of us. And Ashok is going to invite the guest speakers for the day. Thanks, Ashok.
Thank you, and she forgot to say that it's a very the person is very difficult. It can be very demanding. You know, I grew up in a household where all the senior people in the family were women. So my mother and my 5 sisters looked after us in such a way that we always appreciate, I personally appreciate the role a woman plays. I've never had a chance to worry about how I was going to get my food, if I was ill, they would look after it. And then the other thing is that they also disciplined me. So, when they disciplined me, I had to listen to them. But the other ones I used to listen to them, the other two were still handed to me. We would beat them up. Much more than that. But it was typical children's and boys. So, really, if you look at us, all of us around us, at APA Apollo, we have valued the leadership of our ladies. From around 1996, we have always had a woman in leadership position. Today we have more ladies as department heads, and of course we have one CEO leading an important part of our group, Catherine. I'd like to introduce perhaps the most recent addition to our board, who is going to be speaking to us. That is Risper. I've known Risper for many, many years, and I met her when I was on the board of Barclays Bank, and she was one of the persons that was recognized in Barclays as one of the strictest auditors. She was the MD of the Barclays Internal Audit. And when you talk about Barclays Internal Audit, it doesn't mean the Barclays in Kenya. It meant Barclays in all of Africa. And she used to lead the internal audit team, and she used to organize the audit throughout Africa. She then left the audit job and then became the finance director of Barclays Zambia. And in all those years, she had been recognized 3 times as the top 40 under 40 Kenyan women. That was in 2011, 2012, and 2014. So you can see the quality and the depth that she brings to our board. She is now the Group Finance Director, Finance and Strategy Director at East African Breweries Limited. And that means her role is not only Kenya, but all of the region, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, which is a very big role. When we were looking for a new director, we had 3 criteria. 1, young, 2, female, and 3rd, a strong financial background. So who else fitted the criteria from about 20 we looked at? It was Risper. And she joined our board, and now she will be heading the audit and risk committee. So all of you, men and women, who are working in APA and Apollo, you better be careful about areas that you will be questioned on. The other person who is basically a professional of a different kind, that is Beatrice. Beatrice is a consultant, craniofacial orthodontist. I only thought there was one profession when it comes to dentistry. I was a dentist. Now you've got maxillofacial and craniofacial and so many specializations. So that's something that, you to get to that stage, just imagine, besides the 6 years of university education, the practices and so on, and getting to the highest stage of as a consultant in England means that she must have worked very, very hard. As I said, she is trained and worked in UK. She returned home to look after her ailing father. She is now enrolled in public and private practice. Both of us belong to Rotary, where I first met her. She is now part of the family, helping us to manage Bina's health. So she's actually grown very close to us and helping us to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So with these 2 ladies to join us, and I'm sure the 2 of them will talk about how they've gone through their careers and how they've been able to hashtag grow the bias.
So why do we celebrate International Women's Day? When I look back to those incidents, I don't know that I've had anybody refer to a girl child as a nun-child. I think we've made strides. When I think about things like your right to having a healthy baby, I don't think I've had anybody call it self-inflicted, right? So when I think about celebrating Women's Day, I think about all the strides we've made. And this is just me, not my grandma, not my mom, not my great-grandma. There's so many strides we've been able to make as women in achieving a fair and equal world. And so I think it's only fair that we celebrate what we've managed to get. We're not done yet, Ashok. We're not yet done breaking the bias. We still have so much more working against us. So we're not done yet, but we celebrate the things we've been able to achieve so far.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Hoping that I'm clear also. Yeah. The beauty of such sessions is that you get to hear real life stories. You get to hear Risper referring to herself, and she's right here with us. So we can interact with that, and we can probably just engage further, which makes it much, more fruitful to all of us, that we actually have a real person telling us a real story, and it is her story. Now, over to you, Doc. I'll be very polite now.
And fair.
I've broken the bias, I promise. What does 2022 International Women's Day rally call or campaign theme, #BreakTheBias, actually mean?
First of all, I want to congratulate all of you. You're looking amazing in purple. There has never been a search for purple like I had in the last 48 hours. This is what I came up with. So just sympathize with us, but well done, ladies. Breaking the bias, for me, means the life that we're living every single day. The first time on record that International Women's Day was celebrated was in 1911. So this journey started a long time ago. For me personally, what I see both in the profession and here at home, where I look with awe, is that we now see as normal what people before us could only imagine. And this is because a lot of people have allowed us to stand on their shoulders. So we really need to not take for granted the fact that, we've got female directors, we've got female craniofacial orthodontists, which generally means that I make people smile, and I do head and neck surgery, and I deal with specifically cleft lip and palate work. When I started off the journey in dentistry, there were 11 people in Kenya who were being admitted to the dental school. I think there was 3 of us females. But today, there are statistics all over the place that suggest that, for instance, in the UK, the women folk in dentistry form 47%. We haven't yet got our data here, but I know that is something that is happening because I see it. I see it amongst us everywhere we turn and look. So for me, it's wonderful that we have people like Ashok who value it enough so that we can sit here and celebrate each other and appreciate the achievements that we have made. So that's what it means.
So as you give her a hand, Doc, back to you again. There's a section of your CV which reads, she was the first Black, African, female specialist orthodontist to venture into business, Now, I would like you to tell us something about that. Those of us who have read the book, Becoming by Michelle Obama, will know, I don't know which of those, is it the first, is it the female, is it the Black, that becomes very attractive in this conversation. But just tell us something about that, because this speaks about you.
Okay, I'd kind of forgotten that actually. The one thing I've got to say is I don't know anybody who breaks those ceilings or barriers or biases, who sets out intending to be the first anything. I think a lot of what we achieve is set in a very quiet place, in a very lowly and humble position. Say in high school, when you decide that you're going to do your best no matter what it takes, or when you decide that at the end of my working day, I want to sleep well at night because I gave my patients everything. I did not leave anything behind, and I did my best, knowing full well that you can't please everybody. That's one thing. And the best is really all you can offer. The thing we're also very, very cognizant of, if we're true to ourselves, is we know when we've given half, or we've given 10%, or we've given, even 99%, which is not 100. So for me, I think to answer that question, Beth, it's really something that happened. I kind of discovered that in retrospect. I didn't know that I was the first of any of those things. But then my mission at the time was created by quiet moments back in a very cold place in Kikuyu, which was my high school, when I decided that, you know what, I'm going to give my best. I'm going to give my best every day that I can. Every day that God gives me strength, I'll do 110, 120% if I can. And as I progressed, then the result was that. So for me, I think that's the meaning of that accolade. But it matters very little if the person that I am is not worthy of respect. So the titles and the achievements and all that are very, very small if I cannot be a friend, a sister, somebody who can nurture, who can care for others, and who has something about them that is of value.
Brilliant. So clearly, we can actually also be leaders without titles. Great. Back to you, Risper. In your career, have you faced any barriers that, border on your gender? If you have, how have you overcome them? And what piece of advice would you give us, both young and older ladies? Not older in terms of biology, but older in terms of being around in the organization for long.
Okay, I thought about this question a lot. And as I reflected on my journey, I thought, first of all, nothing good comes easier, whether it's Ashok or it's any of the gents in the room or any of us, nothing good comes easy at all. And so when I think about barriers, there might have been many, but I think I didn't focus on them at all. I just didn't spend my time focusing on why I can't do it, but more on why I should and can do it. Maybe I'll give you one of the examples around when I first went to work in Johannesburg in the group office. First, I came in from a different entity. There was Barclays and ABSA, and they were trying to merge. And, there's a British, South African, there was so many dynamics. And I came in there and I didn't realize that I was identified with a particular camp, and I had come to take charge and to conquer. And so it was a hostile environment. And then on top of that, I was neither of the camps. I wasn't Black speaking the local language, neither was I white. And I think my greatest gifting in that was I was completely unaware. The only thing I was aware of is that I was competent and I came here to do a job. And that above all, I really and truly cared about the people that worked for me, whatever their color, whatever their gender. I really and truly cared and wanted to make a difference. I wanted us to win, because that's what I always do. I wanted us to be on top. I wanted us to be the best. And I wanted to sell this vision that we can do it. We don't have to be so concerned about the nitty-gritties. So when I look back, I think about some of the audacious things I said, and people would stop in the meeting and you can see the reflection is, who are you to speak here? People like you don't speak around here. But I was quite audacious around it. And one particular meeting I had, and I was on phone with a group of people. It was a difficult audit. And, there were investment bankers and they can be very aggressive. And this particular guy, as the discussions on the audit were being had, and I was just standing in, I wasn't even in charge of that job. And he started to swear, really foul language. And my instinctive concern for treating people fairly just stood up. And I said, I want to know who that is and why you think it is appropriate to speak to people like that. And apparently this guy had been doing this to people, demoralizing them, swearing at them, and really just demeaning them. And so immediately he said to me, it's not your guys, I'm talking to my guys. I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. This is not in line with our values as an organization, and I think you should take it back. And so he immediately started to apologize and he took it back. And the next day he came to see me personally and just say, I'm really sorry, I'll never do that again. So what's my message in that? I think you'll meet obstacles and there may be barriers, but I think you have to be strong. And in being strong, you have to call it out with confidence and coming from a good place. So don't go seeing shadows where there's nothing, but where there's something that's clear cut and it's wrong and it's harmful. Just, my former boss always said, nobody got ahead by keeping quiet, right? Be confident. And Wangari Maathai says it is your voice matters. Yeah, you are okay as you are, and you have a contribution to make. And so that's the principle I work with. I am here for a reason. I am well qualified. I've worked hard to get here. And when I am confident in what I have to say, I say it with confidence. What you do with it afterwards is not my problem. I'm going to put it out there and make sure I make my impact in making the workspace a space where we all want to belong to and where we can all contribute effectively.
Amazing, amazing. Are we ready to break this bias, guys? Are we feeling it? Okay, can I have some questions from some of you kindly to these two ladies? Any of them? Anyone who has something to just, ask, clarify? Anyone? I'm going to request Joyce. Yes, Violet.
Hi, guys. Karibuni sana nyinyote, especially to our guests. So far, so good. I've got one question to ask the director. And my question comes like this. How can strong-willed women not lose who they are with the fear that comes with the workplace biases? For example, when a woman speaks her mind, it's being said that she's a cow. She's a cow. In that she does not know. She does not know what she's saying. That what she's saying is not good. But when it comes to a man, and he speaks the same thing that the woman has spoken, he's being told that he's strong-willed. So how about that? Yeah. To the director.
I went to Zambia and I was there for 4 years. And in one of my very first meetings, there was a discussion about Joyce Banda, who was a president of Malawi. And there was a picture where she was kneeling before one of the African presidents. And so the guys were talking about it and saying how humble she was and all kinds of nice things. And I said something like, I would never kneel before any man. I can only kneel before God. Now, I thought that was okay. It sounds okay, right? Until I realized in the Zambian culture, women kneel down before their husbands every single day, and how offensive that was in saying that particular thing. Now, in reflection, I thought to myself, and after that, what happened is they dug up the video of Lucy Kibaki's famous night where she attacked the station, and they sent it around and said, this is your new CFO. This is Kenyan women, right? And why do I say this? is that over the years and as I've matured, I've learned, one, the power of silence. You don't have to say something all the time. Sometimes watch it play out before you say something, and you'll have more impact when you do say something. The second thing is being very self-aware. I mean, the Zambian women, much as they kneel down, I would say they're some of the toughest, strongest women I've ever seen. So they know how to balance their power very well. They know when to almost bow down in respect, but when they speak, it is authoritative. So I learned to observe and be very self-aware of what impact do I want to land? Do I just want to talk because I can? Or do I really have to say something? And I want to say it with impact because I will say it. How do I say it with impact? How am I aware of my environment, my audience, and my message? And I tailor it in a way that has more power to me. Sometimes it needs me to be softer rather than instinctively hard. Sometimes it needs me to be hard, like when I said to the gentleman, why would you think it's appropriate to speak to people like that? So I never raise my voice ever. I think through, and this has come with age, I have to admit, I was a lot more feisty when I was younger. I now observe a little bit and say, how do I intervene in this situation? Is it a direct combat? Is it one where I channel my support from all around? Or is it one where, some gentle persuasion might achieve the outcome? The important thing being achieving my outcome. And also don't worry too much about other people and what they say or think. Worry about the impact and whether it takes the ball forward. If it does, and you have the right impact, and you're coming from a good place, and you have self-awareness, then you're doing the right thing. Be okay with that. Yeah.
Oh my, yes. I don't know what to ask, but just a remark on what Dr. said about not planning things that are meditated at silent places. But sometimes when people take such an approach, you find that others challenge and say, no, you need to come out. And it relates with what Risper said. You need to come out strongly. You need to fight. Yeah. And I like the way she has responded. Sometimes you don't have to. Yeah, you can be strategic about it. So I liked a comment. So for me, it was not a question, it was a remark because it really came out strong. It made me think my history, how I started, because sometimes I find young ladies who ask me, when did you start knowing you'll be a CEO? And I tell them, I never actually started thinking like I would be a CEO. And they're like, that's not true. So how can you help us figure out where we are headed to? Yeah. So for me, it's just a remark.
What I've seen and what I've noticed is that when a lot of not all but a lot of women managers do not allow the women in their group to grow up much better. It's something that I don't know. I mean, the three of you, but especially Risper, I think, might have a good idea. Well, Beth, you are the HR manager, so I can't blame. And your team is all female. And then, but tell us, tell us why is it that it's like they just don't want them to succeed or they don't want them to grow?
I think one of the places I will start is maybe leading on from what Risper said. When people come at you with negativity or stifling or things that are not going to enhance your productivity, I think one thing I have applied and learned not so long ago is that it says more about them than it does about me. And sometimes pursuing the why, and that person is like this, and having a huddle on the side, and what women generally tend to do, does not help in any way, shape, or form, because a lot of times the problem is within that individual. And I have learned to turn that perspective just a little bit around, so that you may even start with empathizing with that individual. Why? Because they may be reflecting to you their own insecurities, their own issues, their own stresses, and their own worries. So I always look at a situation and I think, how can I turn this lemon into lemonade? Am I going to stoke the fire and make it worse? Or am I going to try and find a way that we can get a solution to the problem, particularly in the workplace, because I think this is the forum we are in today. And it may be able to translate to other places, family and social settings. I think that if we deal with the one person that we have control over, then we are on to something that might succeed. Deal with your own biases. What is it that you see in that lovely lady with a shawl that's looking so beautifully purple that makes you say, I wonder where she got it from? Yeah. What makes you say that? If you start dealing with that thing that spurned that thought or that sensation, you know what? We may actually start to solve the problem that your wonderful CEO has actually spotted. Because sometimes the men are looking at us and saying, how can we help you? You guys are dealing yourselves a raw hand. So I always feel that one of the best ways to progress in any aspect of life is look at the person you can control. Start here, because this is where the change will start to spread like a ripple effect around the place. And it's simple things, really. It's simple things like looking for the positive in an individual, no matter how much you dislike her hair color, her nails, her shoes, her anything. Look for something positive and then turn that into an active interaction where you can actually get to the point of complimenting this manager who you feel is stifling your progress. You see, if we plant positivity where there is negativity, it can only be a positive effect that we are pushing forward. If we bring our own negative energy, we're just going to spiral down further and further. So for me, I think that has been the simple approach. And never fear. I'm not saying in any way that being female or demure means be quiet and nice and smiley. I'll give myself as an example. Many people assumed along the way that I was this tiny little lady who doesn't know anything about anything, until we went to the gym and I was working out with Everton Premiership footballers. And I could do the chin lifts that they couldn't do. And my trainer said, come and watch her. So we do not have to lose our femininity, but we can be strong. But I really would like to emphasize that we start with the person we can control, which is me, myself. Thank you.
Do you want to add something, Risper?
Yeah, I think part of this is myth and part of it is reality. Oh, okay. Now, yeah. So part of it, I think, is myth and part of it is reality. So as I was listening to the question and reflecting, my boss, Jane, is a female. I'm a female. The head of finance under me is a female. The FD in KBL is a female. The Uganda FD is a female. Sometimes we just say it because it sounds nice. And so no one is after you, so stop running. Yeah, stop running. No one's after you. I also think about my journey. I'm a product of female leadership as much as I'm a product of male leadership. And in my entire career, is that right? So in my entire career, I've only had one female line manager that was a bit challenging. And in that environment, I remember one of my mentors telling me, sometimes you learn how to be And sometimes you learn how not to be. So even this is a learning opportunity that is showing you when you get a chance to lead, don't lead like this because you know how it feels. You know the impact. Yeah. So first, I think don't buy into the myth. It's not true. Secondly, when you are in such a position, take the lesson. Maybe the lesson is how not to lead and be a better person, be a better leader because you have been through that. Thirdly, Ashok, one of my best teams ever was almost an all-female team. And I'll tell you why. When you care about women and the things that are close to their hearts, they'll care about your work. And they deliver for you in ways you cannot believe. Yeah. And I want to say more of that because this particular team were young ladies in South Africa where everybody believes Black females don't exist, they don't work, they're a unicorn. But this was a whole team of them, childbearing age. As their manager, they knew it was their job to make it work. They knew that they loved working here. They knew if their child was sick, I would not quibble about it. But they would not tell me, I can't come to work, I can't deliver because my child is sick. They'd call a friend. They made it work within them and said, if we drop the ball, then we'll lose all our privileges. And that's true even now. If we drop the ball, we're here for work. So if we don't deliver work, no one's going to care about all those other things. But care about your people, and then your people will take charge. You know, I never, ever had to tell people you have not performed. They'd be on the others and say, why have you let us down? Let the team down. You know, so I think there's a real opportunity in women pulling together and really raising the standard. And I challenge you guys, get yourselves in that position, back each other up so that you show up your best. You show up number one. We are here because we are qualified and we are the best for the job. Let's show up.
Vinod, what have you to say about this?
See, at the workplace is the easy one. You don't have, what should I say? Removing discrimination and all at the workplace is the easy one. But a lot of this discrimination is rooted in culture and all. How do you get rid of it? For example, here at the workplace, you find everything is okay. Ask an African man to go into the kitchen and cook. How many will agree? And then again, I'm told here, the culture is men eat first and women eat later on. This has its root in male superiority. But then again, changing that in the household will be difficult. Isn't it? You're talking about removing discrimination. Why should women eat last? Why should women be the only one who do the cooking? We may have people here who, because of work pressure, have to sit and work late in the office. I've seen some of my female colleagues leave at 8 or 9. But when they go home, are they able to have a dinner quietly or do they have to cook for the man? See, the workplace is the easy one because we have laws, you have stuff to protect the women folk, but at the household level, there isn't. I was watching a program on BBC. It was about India. You know, in India, 1 out of 25 women suffer marital rape. In India, once a woman is married, she has no control over her body. She has to say yes to the man. And our legislatures have been discussing it in parliament. And they make the right noises that, yeah, we need this law. We need a law to punish a man if he rapes his wife. But no legislator is willing to vote for it in parliament because he knows if he does, he will lose the next election because the menfolk will turn against him. So for me, removing discrimination at the workplace is easy. Protecting women in their households is the difficult part. And that needs a whole lot of culture change because you can't just bring it in through legislation. Thank you.
For me, I think adding to what Vinod have said, I think from traditionally, we have seen the women being left on the side. And consequently to that, in the recent, we have also seen now the boy child also suffering. It's true. We have seen the boy child suffering in many aspects. But one thing we also appreciate, even in schools, we have seen the girl child, because the women, it also touches on the girl child. We have seen a starting performance coming also from the ladies and from the girls, even in the high schools. And that calls for what has been happening, the support to the girl child. I think that's what has also been happening. And we celebrate that support as well. And in between, we also don't leave the boy child. We also don't leave the boy child. I think that's my views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please keep these questions coming. Keep them coming. The mic is coming round. Now I have something to ask you, Doc. Someone said, never let success get into your head, but also never let failure get into your heart. Have you found yourself in a situation where you were so successful that it turned out to be a failure, which an oxymoron of some sort? And did you let that failure get into your heart?
Okay, so I'm getting all the deep questions here. By the way, ladies, I haven't seen you do the whole symbol thing. I thought we were all going to do that. I want to see that before I answer. Okay, great. Yes, I haven't succeeded yet, is how I think. I still have stuff I want to do. But that goes back to what your CEO mentioned, that I do not compete with things outside of myself and accolades outside of myself. I compete with the Beatrice of yesterday. I want the Beatrice of today to be better than the one yesterday. And I know it may sound like a broken record, but it is my truth. It's my simplicity, and it is my truth. And there are certain things that I hold on to that have steered me through whatever might have appeared to be a success and what might have appeared to be a failure. I think there's a lot of poetry that says, if you can treat those two imposters the same, that is success and failure, then you've truly found yourself. And for me, the things that keep me grounded so that when I'm purportedly succeeding, I'm still on the ground, include the simple practices of getting up and meditating and praying and reading the spiritual values that inculcate things for me that steady my ship. So the cat's going to be out of the bag, but I get up at 3:38 in the morning, and I have time for me to just contemplate of life and what it means and what's important and what's not. There's so much beauty in appreciating the world that God created for us, whichever name we give him. It humbles you to see the sunrise, because we cannot do that. We cannot make that happen. And so when success comes and you get an accolade or a banner or something really positive in social media, it's the same Beatrice. I cannot make the sunrise. I cannot make it set. So thank you, but it doesn't change who I am. And to answer the question on failure, I have been dragged through the mud of failure on several different occasions. But you see, it is the same practices of meditation, praying, and contemplating. And then at the end of my day, I always find five things that I can be grateful for. And you know what? Somehow that failure doesn't seem so bad. So I think it really does go back to what do you do? What do you do every day to stabilize that person who is meeting the world, whether you are at cleaner level, at CEO level, at politician level, whatever it is you're doing, there's got to be something within us that makes that sawazishwad. Yeah. So I think that's how, for me, again, success and failure, those imposters are just the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Picking up from there, Risper, and probably also threading it from Daniel's point on the boy child. What progress do you think we have made on gender equality so far? And what has it been like? What has it been like for you in your life and at work?
It's a deep question, I think. I think we've made a lot of progress. Just to be here as women in the workplace is something. Yeah, there were years back when this was rare. I work in manufacturing. We now have women in the plant. It is a jungle because it's an environment where they're just not used to women. And they've been there for many years. And now we are saying, women in STEM, and we want to go in there as well. So there are spaces where, like in banking, I think we're well over 50-50. In manufacturing, particularly in the plant, we're not there yet. In certain aspects of leadership, look at politics, we're not there yet. And I think an equal world is one where we all get to participate, because when we're all participating, then it's better. I think linked into Daniel's question and even to Vinod's to some extent, I think we need to engage on what this equal world means. I'm not sure we've understood it. I'm not sure we've unpacked it fully. I'm not sure we as women have changed our expectations of men. Because as we become more, they become less, it means that things change around here. Things change around the home. Things change around your expectations of what you do with your money, right? So your expectation of a partner should be adjusting accordingly. But I don't think we're having that conversation. And so we have started to see a generation of young men that are extremely angry because they're applying and they're seeing you're getting their jobs. And they're wondering what is their place. And you guys still want them to make more money than you before you date them. So how's it going to work? So I think there's a more detailed conversation around painting that picture of what the future looks like, and all of us being stronger together. Because as we make our strides, the landscape is changing and some people are uncomfortable. And we need to make sure that we are all able to contribute fully and effectively. I also challenge the men when they say the boy child. I'm like, I don't know who has stopped you from helping the boy child. So please, just go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, guys, anyone else? We're just about to wrap up. Before we go into some final questions, I just want to I can see Piyush, I can see Harriet. Anyone on this side? I can see Ashok, and I can see one hand. That's Stella. All right. So Doreen.
Risper, one of your fellow colleagues. One of the things, you're celebrating Women's Day today, but you've got some very inspirational leaders right in front of you. And this is something you should be celebrating every day, not just today. There's so many brilliant examples. You remember the space race between Russia and America. And there was this group of women scientists, mathematicians, who came up with the algorithms by which the Americans actually won that race. Not only were they women, as it happened, they were all Black. Right? This is going back in the 60s. I mean, there's so many things women have to celebrate. I think we should be hearing and celebrating them every day, not just on a day like today.
I'll jump the queue. There's a reason why I'm jumping the queue, because there's another meeting I have to rush to. But sorry, my hashtag is #GrowTheSuccess. or grow the support. Yeah, that's what the hashtag is to be. Catherine, just tell us, I mean, you came here as a CEO, so there's no bias or anything like that. But before you got to the CEO's position where you were before, how did you manage yourself? Was there bias, and how were you able to finally, get over that bias?
I thought this was only to the panelists. But thank you. Yes, he told me about it, and I think one thing he didn't remind me is the color is purple. So I just found myself here in the morning in yellow. But anyway, the spirit is one. Yeah, so to respond to Hashok's question, well, I think when I got the CEO job is when I realized, oh my God, what a privilege that I was a lady and they took me up. But when I was trying it out, it didn't occur in my mind at that time that actually I was a lady. Yeah. and just like what she has said and Risper has said, I'll say sometimes you don't overthink so much about it. And for me, maybe it is my upbringing that made me come out the way I was, because I grew up in a family of 6 girls and then 2 boys who were small boys. So by the time the boys were born, the girls were already almost out of primary school. So I grew up being exposed to all chores in the household. If it is milking the cows, because I was brought up in the rural areas, you will milk. If they break the boma, you go and look for the hammer and the nails and you repair. Because we never thought there was anything else to do or who else to call, because our dad was working, our mom was a housewife. So we were there, all women, our mom and 6 girls. So we had to do. Yeah, and it never clicked in my mind. There was some work that was for girls and some work that was for boys. And when I went to school, there was a nursery school, and when I was being enrolled to class 1 during registration, I remember this episode very, very well. The teacher asked me, "What is your name?" And I said, "Catherine Karemi." "Catherine Karemi who?" And I asked her, "Which is the other name I'm supposed to give?" "I'm Catherine Karemi." And she asked me, "You should hand your dad's name." And I asked the teacher, "Why my dad and not my mom's name?" And she was surprised. "No, you are supposed to hand your dad's name after yours." And I said, "I want to hand my mom's name." And she said, no, it's never done that way. So I told her, "So if I can't hand my mom's name, I will not hand my dad's name." And not like I hated my dad, but I felt it's unfair for the teacher to tell me, I was 7 years old then, to tell me that I can't hand my mom's name. It was not making sense, because the way I was brought up for those 7 years, I knew we are all equal, we are doing everything okay. So to me, in my mind, there was nothing like the man is superior, the woman is inferior. So I told the teacher, I will remain with my names. And to date, people ask me, even the ID, when I go to some offices, I give my ID and they ask me, "What's your other name?" For those who know, who have seen my ID, I say, I have only 2 names. Catherine Karemi, those are my names. And I remained like that. So I think over the time and the way I grew up, mentally, it's stuck into me that we are equal. We can fight for the same space. When we work hard, we can get on the table. When I learned about the position, I remember I looked for a position at APLI. I looked for Ashok's number and I called him. He didn't know me. I don't think Ashok had Catherine Karimi before. Maybe I called him and I told him, Mr. Ashok, my name is Catherine, and you have a position that I'm interested in. And he engaged me in a conversation. Very kind. He told me, this is my email address. Send me your CV. I'll send it to the directors. If you qualified, they will call you for the interview. And that's how it ended. And after that, I just went into prayers and said, if it is mine, it is mine. If I qualify for it, I'll go for it and I'll do my best. So just as Risper said, don't overthink. And sometimes the biases we face along the way, if we think too much about them, they can block our way. Yeah, they can become actually blockage. Look at the positive side, as she said, yeah, and work on it. Yeah, and that way you will improve. And we have to do our best. Yeah, don't wait for the favor just because you are a lady. Yeah, just as Risper said, work for it, give your best, show up. Thank you. I hope I've answered you.
Thank you so much. I think it was Harriet and Stella, and then we can wrap up.
Good evening, everyone. I think growing up, we've always been taught, or we've always seen that women have to work twice as hard as men. So that women have to work twice as hard as men. So for you, Risper and Doc, do you think that that is true? Or is it just an assumption that we have put in our heads that we as women have to work twice as hard as men to get to those higher levels? Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll take this one actually, as opposed to being given. I think something that Catherine has said is really important. The biases start sometimes with us. You see, when you expect that bias is coming, inevitably you're going to see it. Remember what I was saying earlier, that the person you can control is you. It's not the others. And we spend too much time on the others, and yet we cannot change them. So I want to just address the point you make, because it is said and it is documented and it is visible. We can even feel it. But the choice of our world and our environment, which I believe is here, it's not here, it's here, is something that we have complete control over most of the time. So I will steal the words of my headmistress, who said, it's not what happens to you, it's how you handle it. And I took, she used to walk down the chapel and we'd be like, oh, she's going to say the same thing again. But you know what? It actually makes a difference. It's the same thing that is in books, like one that has changed my life that I would recommend, which is The Success Principles. How to get from where you are to where you want to be. The author is Jack Canfield. He co-wrote it with Janet Schweitzer, but he's well famed for Chicken Soup of the Soul, just in case you need to find it. But I'm coming to the answer in this way. I lived far too long in a foreign country, and I had a choice to see racism as a real issue or the bias against women. And I really did have to sit with myself and think, how do I make this work for me? Yes, I might be told you have to work not only 2 times as hard, 3 times as hard. But you see, I chose to see that as making me better. it meant that if there were 4 surgeons in the room and they were usually males, guess what? I'm going to be 3 times as good because I'm going to apply myself. So you see, then it's the same situation, but it's made me better. And it means that my work speaks for me. So then you stop carrying this load that makes us lean and feel like, oh, we're women, we're being treated badly or whatever. You start carrying yourself with the pride that says, you know what, if they bring me the most difficult, incomplete cleft lip palate operation, I got this, because I trained and worked 3 times as hard because maybe that bias is there. But I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on how it makes me better. So I think a lot of it is the bias may exist, it may not, but how are we going to carry it so that the first thing that people see is not that anger and that resentment and that nasty energy. Instead, what they see is, my goodness, she's an amazing woman. And I tell you what, she's very good at her work. Nobody can question your work. So for me, it's really about a paradigm shift, and it may be true, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just really good at what I do.
Guys, you can see how these self-talks are very useful. When you tell yourself some of these positive things, I think the pendulum swing of that is what a man can do. Stella?
So my question speaks to what Vinod actually spoke to about culture and breaking the bias. And to the panelists, Risper and Dr. Beatrice, you've won the great heart. How are you able to move from, the group CFO from work, and then right before you get home, do you set aside that heart and now become the mother, the partner, the daughter, the sister? And really, how are you able to truly navigate that balance in a world where I want to have it all? I need my career to work and I need home to be beautiful. Is it a matter of juggling the balls? How is the transition for you? And over the years, what has made it easy for you to be able to blend what I call church and state?
Thank you. I think that's like if I collected a shilling for every time I was asked that question, I'd be very rich. But I think it's twofold. One, and I'll link it to the working twice as hard. And I'm wondering, if I didn't work as hard as I do, what would I be doing? Yeah. So I think I feel very, very fulfilled for all the roles that I have. I've got 3 daughters, 21 and a half, 18 and 12 and a half. And I think, just having my family complete, it makes me who I am. It's the reason that inspires me to do more. Now, different people are inspired by different things, but for me, that's the driver. I want a better world for them. I want them to see that they can go after anything and they can get it. Secondly, I will say maybe the most important decision you will ever make is the choice of your partner. So if you haven't chosen one yet, choose carefully, because it can make or break you, really, quite literally. And I think, and that's where I talk about, we have to apply ourselves to thinking of what an equal world means. An equal world means you have a partner in the home where you both apply yourselves in the home. Yeah, you both know the value that the things you're doing bring and the things he's doing bring. And you both know that your family above all is most important. And so you take care of your family. And sometimes we've made decisions that are financially less profitable because we've always said, even when we move, we are all moving together. Yeah, because family is important. And that means sometimes we adjust certain things, but it's that understanding. So if you haven't picked a partner, don't look for the highest dollar of value. Look for their value system, their beliefs, their ability to contribute and hold your hand and help you be the best you can be, and you help them be the best they can be. And in more developed societies, this is why a woman can go for a year's maternity leave. We have a 6-month maternity leave. Why? Because in a 1-month paternity for the men. Yeah, in ABL, yeah. And well, it's a much larger organization and different things, but that allows you to be able to fully apply yourself, but it also means your partner can then engage. So the guys get a month so that they can go and see those children, not so that they can go to the bar. Yeah, so that they can be a part of it, because we really believe family is important. And if we are not complete, somewhere down the line, something will break. So I encourage you to find a partner or make a partner if you already have one. Make them up. Don't be a ninja. You can't do it. You just can't. Yeah. So ask for help, whether it is spouse or additional support. At some stage in my life, I had 2 permanent helpers and I had 5 sisters. And, I'd call on the entire network to support me. So don't try and do everything yourself. You'll do everything average or below. Yeah. So pick your battles, get support, make your partner a real partner. And I think it's going to be a much more equal world.
Any further input? Doc says she has nothing more to add, Stella. And I'm just wondering, Benjamin, I can see you there. And just before I wrap up, I'd like to honor your presence. Ewart, I would like to hear you guys say something or ask something, and then I can ask these ladies to wrap it up for us.
I didn't see this coming. So this is a bit awkward for me, but I really celebrate our ladies, and I really respect the fact that this organization also recognizes ladies. Maybe just to emphasize on what Vinod said, I don't see much of a challenge in terms of having the equity, gender equity at the workplace. But again, echoing what Ashok asked before he left about whether it's the ladies who work against fellow ladies. The gender equity discussion should be more of in the social place out there, in political forums, in social forums. What can we do as ladies to have to encourage each other to rise up there? Because at workplace, I think all the regulations and all the policies are conducive enough.
There's not much to add, really. But first of all, just a little factoid here. Beatrice and I were in school together. She was a year ahead of me in primary. So it's really good to see you. Yeah, we go back. We used to go to the same church, same club, all of that stuff way back then. So it is really good to see all of you. It's lovely to see all of you dressed in purple. This is coincidental, by the way. It's almost purple. But if there's one thing I must add, and it's just to Samuel's point, and this is just from my years in the industry, I do worry sometimes about the boy, because every time I have interviewed, like whenever I've advertised for a position, like 7 or 8 out of 10 are always women, which is a great thing. But then I sometimes ask these women, would you guys marry your age mates? I mean, would you really pick a dude from, and the answer is invariably no. And I wonder, oh gosh, the poor men, what are we going to do about them? So, but either way, it's happy Women's Day to all of you. You look really beautiful. Thank you. You look lovely, and it's a great way to end the evening. So thank you. Yeah.
Colleagues, in the interest of time, I'm going to wrap this up unless it's somebody with a really burning question. I'm trying to avoid Risper's 6 months comment. So I moved quickly. I thought it was self-inflated. Anyway, I know, and I think clearly we have always room for improvement. I believe there's always room for improvement. I believe there's room for us to make this a better place for all of us. I believe we are open enough to take as much feedback and as much, anything that we can help each other and support each other on. It's always a welcome idea. So ladies, let's do this. Ladies supporters, the team in the room, thank you so much, and let's keep supporting each other. We truly appreciate you. So in closing, Doc, maybe you could share with us a women's empowerment moment that really inspired you?
You've probably noticed I don't go too far when I'm looking for answers. I'm going to pick something that happened only about a week ago, which is that Kenya Girl Guides Association celebrated 100 years. Ewart will probably confirm that our entire family was born into girl guiding and scouting and all those things. And that's courtesy of my mother. And so I'm going to give this example as my most memorable and recent women empowerment moment. So my mother was one of these the only kind of women in her time. So she went to Alliance in 1957. Okay, we can't even think that far, some of us. And she went at a time when you got the DC to put you in a Land Rover, and then you were put into a train, and then you were put into, I don't know where you were going, that kind of experience. But in that time, and by the way, they had to, I think they were also boys and girls in the same school. There was no accrosions, and they were all together, because that was all the facilities that there were. In that time, she happened upon girl guiding. And so when the celebration of 100 years happened a short while ago, we had the presence of the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, giving these women, all amazing women, awards for their contribution, because the journeys of most of them, like my mother, were that they started as girl guides, then they became rangers, and they went on to serve. They became commissioners and all sorts of different roles that were really focused on empowering the girl and giving her as much exposure as possible. So the moment for me that is outstanding is that whilst they were being given accolades, here is my mother trying to push forward a lady called Brenda Goodman, who's probably in her 90s, and saying, no, not us. Please honor this lady, because that centenary, she has seen more of it than we have. And for me, what that said was, we are at our best when we live a life of service, and when we look outward to what we can add versus what we can bring to ourselves. Because these women who were the pace setters and who were in the newspapers and, the whole works, they were being given their greatest accolades. Still, their spirit was one of saying, look at this other woman and what she's done. Give her the accolade. So for me, that was empowering, because when we look outside of ourselves and say, how can we make that other person's life better? Guess what? We all elevate ourselves. So I hope that that's one of the take-homes that we can actually live up to. Look around you as women and at the boy child. Just look at them. And see how it is that whilst you're empowering yourself, you take your whole village with you, because that's something that women, we hold as our own nurturing trait. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Risper, in closing, you've given so much advice. What's the best advice that you've been given? And what's your message for us today?
So thank you. The best advice I was ever given was back when I was in KPMG. Well, maybe I shouldn't say KPMG, but yeah, I did work for KPMG for about 9 years. And as I said, when you joined KPMG, you were the best of the best. They recruited aggressively from the college, and you got in, and everybody used to come to work with Yale or Stanford or, Ivy League school, which is where they're going next. Once they've done 1-2 years, they're gone. Now, I got married early, and I got pregnant, and you didn't get pregnant in KPMG. So what are you thinking? And, I started to really worry about my future and whether this was the right thing. And, everybody's going to do masters and what's my plan here? And in that moment, one of my line managers came and talked to me, and he told me, you've got to know your season, right? Know what season you're in and what is important in that season. In the season when you're having your child, that's the most important thing. Well, and that conversation freed me up. And it's a thing I always ask myself, what's my season? Where am I in now? Am I planting? Am I harvesting? What am I in right now? Because in that moment, it helped me calm down and really focus. And it didn't make me lazy. It wasn't a conversation of now go and sleep because you're having a baby. It was no, your baby is a priority. However, you're building a career. So when you have the capacity to deliver 150. Yeah, because when you're there, be there 150. When you're sick and you won't endanger your health. So I think for me, that has been so impactful in understanding, even when I'm going through my hard time, I ask myself, what's your season, Risper? What's the lesson here? What are you about? Are you about impacting someone else? Are you about learning? What is it that's going on here? And that helps you reset very quickly and adapt and really bring your best. So I always encourage people, know your season at all times. In terms of my message for Women's Day, I think my message is really to say, we are so privileged to be here. There's so many that would want to be you. In case you don't know, there's so many that would want to be you. So don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't complain. Embrace the opportunities that you have. Be the best that you can. Bring your 100%. Make sure that every space you touch is different because you are there. Every person you interact with is different because you are there. And that's a purpose and a calling that's bigger than just, I am the first, I am the only, I am the what. It's your impact. So that's what I'll say. Have an impact. When you come to your department, let it be better because you're there, because of you, because you have been allowed to be there. And that's how we will tell our story. That's how we will define this equal future so that it's something that is exciting to be part of and not something that's scary for those who are not yet part of it. Thank you.
I think it's at this point I say, I don't want to add any more, lest it spills over. And I would like to then give this back to the MC of the day, who will help me to break the bias. Yes. You start with this envelope. There are gifts in there. So for the questions that we asked earlier, she will earn a lollipop. And she gets a chocolate. I asked her the harder questions and the easier ones. She gets a lollipop, she gets a chocolate. We are equal now. Thank you, guys.
Guys, wasn't that lovely? Did you not learn a lot? Okay. I went to Alliance. How many times do I tell you guys that? Every time I hold a mic in this place, I went to Alliance. Anyway, Oya, and Beth and Stella, we are many. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm not the one giving you vote of thanks, but I'm the head of gifts, as this by people know. So you can't just leave without a branded item that you will use, I promise. So Beatrice, thank you so much. Risper, your hours, we know you're already using, and we have so much more. Thank you. So I invite Stella Karaoke to give us our vote of thanks, and I'm hoping she'll thank me. Stella, please come.
Thank you. Well, what a lovely day. We feel so inspired. Thank you, Risper. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, Beth. And to all the females in this particular building in Apollo, It is because of you that these great women are here. Thank you to also the trailblazers. I had to write down my vote of thanks. Huh? So just, I won't. So just allow me to read this out. So thank you again to the guest speakers. Thank you to Ashok in absentia. Because of him, he truly supports the women agenda. And we can truly see that given the team leaders, the HODs, Catherine is here. It's a testament that through his support, we can be great and we are doing great. The HR team, Beth, this one you've done it quite in style. You remember last year, it was good, then this is better. Hopefully next year, it's going to get even better. Yes. Thank you to HR and the entire HR team. Of course, Grace, the one who went to Alliance. Grace and the CCD team, always making it cheerful with a light note. And then to all the ladies who offered to take the video. I hope you've all seen it on Workplace. Yes, Molly, Rovina, Michelle, they had very great words to say about what it means for them being a woman. And I think the one that really spoke to me was what Michelle said. There are two things that are revolutionary: technology and women. If you compare the 1990 woman, the 2000 women, and then today's woman, they've truly evolved and they're evolving for the better. Then to Gordon Court team, Bernice and the entire team for just making this a place habitable and conducive, to including the men as well to come and join us and support us. I always say it's not a matter of us fighting men, it's a comradeship that we exist and we coexist together. Then to all APA Apollo ladies, both in Nairobi, the ones who are watching us, from the branches in Uganda as well. Happy International Women's Day, and continue breaking the bias in wherever you are, at your workplace, in your homes, at church. And then lastly, let me just say that you need to take away at least one thing that we've learned, either from the speakers, from the question, and you truly need to apply it, whether it's at work, at your homes, with your children, with your partners. Because Risper has said it's not a matter of what you give out, it's the impact that you bring to the world. And as long as it's coming from a good place, just keep doing it. Okay, I think with that, I'll just end with a quote by Sheryl Sandberg. I really liked her book, Lean In. And one of the quotes by her is that in the future, there'll be no female leaders, there will only be leaders. Okay. Was I supposed to pray as well? Wow, you picked the wrong person for this. But so I won't pray, but I'll pick someone to pray. What I'm going to do is I'll just say, what is it called? Is it a fellowship? Like my thought and my wish for all women, yeah? So we thank the Lord for bringing us together in this particular fellowship. He created us very unique. He gave and bestowed in us the will to be able to nurture and to love. Women are very nurturing. He gave us thorough understanding and patience to be able to encounter these troubled worlds. I mean, yesterday something horrific happened, and it's very disturbing, right? At this day and age that such would happen. And he also crafted in us very sharp minds to be able to problem solve, to be able to see beyond the hurdles, but see opportunities and possibilities. And they say, because I don't say it, that, we tear each other down, but I don't think so. I believe we need to continue embracing each other, our own different personalities, our differences, our similarities. We need to be able to celebrate in each other's joys, to empathize in each other's concerns or sorrows, and in so doing, we'll continue trailblazing. And to the men, we are not going to just pause. We call upon you to be able to continue supporting the boy child to step up further. Yes, they may be stepping up, but we need them to step up further. Otherwise, our daughters may not have any husbands. Okay? Yes. So I will volunteer a gentleman to pray. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Daniel, please come and pray for us.
Father and God Almighty, we come to you this evening with a lot of thanks because you have given us this moment, not only to celebrate, but honor you, because it is you who have created us, and more importantly, you have created these women that we do love. How we pray this evening, that for all our speakers, for the content that our speakers have given us today, that we may graciously take something that will be able to improve and help us in our lives. We pray that you continue giving us the encouragement and the knowledge so that we inspire and support each other, even in this great company, oh Lord. We know that you're going to hear us and you're going to continue to be with us. How we pray and we trust in Jesus' name. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So let's just do the break the bias and then extend your hands close to yourself and give yourself a huge hug.